Welcome to Let's Get Cultured, a series where we explore some of history's most important and prolific artists. In today's episode, we venture forth to the faraway land of Poland. Now you might be thinking, but I thought art in Poland was just pork knuckle and kielbasa, and you're mostly right. But funnily enough, this artist grew up in a time in which neither could be found on store shelves. This is because nothing could be found on store shelves during communism, but that didn't stop him from becoming one of Poland's most important artists. I've traveled to the town of Sonak in southeastern Poland with Alex, a token Polish person, to learn more about Poland's most important artist.
Zdzisław Beksiński.
Zdzisław Beksiński. Zdzisław Beksiński.
Beksiński.
Yeah.
Zdzisław
Beksiński
is interesting as an artist because, like many famous artists, he was never actually formally trained in art. He instead studied architecture in Krakow.
doing like his father wanted him to, instead of selling film like he wanted.
After he finished his studies in Krakow, Beksiński came here to Sonak, where he worked. I'm saying it wrong.
Sonak?
Beksiński came here to Sonak, where he worked as an on-site supervisor, taking many of the materials from the sites that he worked on and incorporating that into his early artworks.
Whilst he also worked with photography and sculpture, he was most known for his oil paintings on hardened canvas that he made himself. Death was a common theme in Beksiński's artworks.
Yet despite these grim overtones, he often felt as though his art was misunderstood, claiming that many of them held optimism and even a sense of humor.
I really like how, even though it's very dark, there's always a little bit of light in his artworks.
Beksiński claimed not even to know the meaning of many of his own artworks, stating that he can paint, but he couldn't say anything sensible about it, suggesting that he instead was only painting what he saw in dreams.
He believed that the viewers should see the meaning for their souls, and they don't need an explanation for that.
In fact, he went so far as to refuse to name many of his paintings, which, ironically for me, I think kind of invites this conversation around meaning by suggesting we come up with our own names.
To me, it adds to the mystery, kind of like with Banksy's anonymity.
Despite claiming that his work lacked meaning, Beksiński was famous for his use of Prussian blue. The reason he used Prussian blue was allegedly for its connection to World War II, with it sharing many of the same ingredients, specifically, I think it's hydrogen cyanide, that were used in the creation of Zyklon B. In the late 1990s, his artwork transitioned from its fantastic realism stage and into a more digital one, incorporating photo manipulation, computers, and the internet into his already existing repertoire. And many of these artworks, from the end of his career to the start of his career, can be found in Sonak, including a painting that he didn't finish until the day of his tragic passing, and even some of his earliest works.
You can see his oldest artworks, including when he was not even 2 years old.
And it's in these early artworks that you can really see that Beksiński didn't go to art school. I mean, look at this stuff. I could do better than this. In fact, I have. I drew this in just 5 minutes. Jokes aside, it's thanks to this museum in Sonak that Beksiński has quickly become one of my most beloved artists, up there with the likes of Goya, Botero, and Orozco. I also can't help but wonder what kind of artist Beksiński would have been like had he not grown up when and where he did. It was very rare for an artist behind the Iron Curtain to make it onto the global stage, and it was only through perseverance and the support of his mother and wife that Beksiński did. But that also raises the question about how much his artwork was actually influenced by this regime, and how much he got away with by painting surrealism that didn't directly criticize anything recognizable.
There's also a tragic story to his family. If you are interested in learning more about it, I highly recommend you to see the film Ostatnia Rodzina, The Last Family, directed by Jan Matuszyński. And if you are interested in his artwork, I highly recommend you to see Sonak itself.
I'm trying out a new format and subject matter with this video, so get in the comments and please tell me if this is something that you'd like to see more of or less of. And if you enjoyed the video, here's a sneak peek at what's coming next.